back, listeners and viewers, to another week of Education, the Teachers Talking Terror podcast, where myself, Mike,
and myself, Courtney,
are back to cover another movie. This one was a shuffle at the end of last week, and we are talking about Robert Rodriguez's half of the Grindhouse double feature, Planet Terror. Planet Terror. Robert Rodriguez is a name that I've been a fan of for quite a while. He's got the capability to do just about anything he wants to do. Do you remember the Spy Kids movies?
Yes, but I did not watch them.
Right, they were after your time, but you're familiar. Like he did the Spy Kids movies. He did a series of movies with Antonio Banderas called El Mariachi, Desperado, Once Upon a Time in Mexico. Like, so these kind of shoot 'em up Western types. And then, of course, Spy Kids is like this computer generated kind of kids atmosphere. He did From Dusk Till Dawn with George Clooney, which have we watched that one?
I don't think so.
Okay. I don't want to spoil it then, because it's got a big twist in it, but it's just, Sin City. It's like, I know there's a lot of movies that you probably have not even heard of or even seen, but he's just got a vision. And what's really cool about Robert Rodriguez is he does just about everything in his movies. He writes them, he directs them, he produces them. He's the cinematographer, he's the editor, he does the music, he has his own distribution company. Like, it's pretty much all him. It's all him. I mean, he's got teams of people, of course, but it's pretty much all him. But we talked last week about Planet Terror, and back in, was it 2007, maybe? Yeah. 2007, how Quentin Tarantino and Robert Rodriguez both grew up on Grindhouse cinema. Blaxploitation films, exploitation films. And so a lot of times those were billed as a double feature at a drive-up movie theater or drive-in, or just your standard, kind of cheap theater. And they grew up on those kind of movies. And so this was their homage to that. And of course, we're just talking about Robert Rodriguez as part of it. Planet Terror. A lot of, again, for 2007, a lot of people that were recognizable, that have a history in film, which is pretty cool. Like you get Rose McGowan from the Scream movies. She's in this, or from Scream 1, I should say. She didn't make it out of Scream 1. Freddie Rodriguez, Josh Brolin, who eventually played like Thanos in the Marvel movies. Okay. Marley Shelton's been in some things. I think a couple things we've seen. Jeff Fahey's kind of one of those guys. Like, if you were in any sort of, like, you watched a lot of late 80s, early 90s, even into the mid 90s, just kind of low budget cinema. People like Jeff Fahey, Michael Biehn, he was in Terminator, he was in Aliens. Like, so again, you're like, yeah, I could care less.
Hey, I've seen Terminator.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, Michael Biehn was the guy that come back from the future to stop Arnold Schwarzenegger. Ends up being John Connor's dad. Like, but Bruce Willis is in this movie. Fergie from the Black Eyed Peas is in this movie. So it's just, it's a happy spot for me. Like, I watch stuff like this, and these are people that I've seen in a lot of films, and I've seen them because I like those films, and so to see them carry over is kind of fun. The plot to this movie, though, is it doesn't matter. Like, these kind of movies are very loose on plot.
Yeah.
There's a lot of homage given to a Grindhouse type film. They're usually filmed on really cheap, like movie film, so there's a lot of scratches. There's a lot of blips and blurps and, cigarette burns. And so that's there. It's all done digitally in this film, but there's a lot of graininess and grittiness. And, at one point, which we'll get to, there's like a whole reel of the movie just missing.
Yeah.
Where, and of course done on purpose, but that was very, very common in that era of film. You're watching these films, and then it just cuts from day to night, but it's this, I mean, just because you've just got filmmakers that aren't really good at their job. They're not good filmmakers, but they have an idea, they have a camera, and they got some money, and they go out and they make a movie. And you get movies like like Shaft,
Yeah.
Superfly, but you are, again, a lot of like women in cages, exploitative. Like they're terrible to watch. You don't feel good watching them, but you just look at it as like, these are the movies that people wanted to make and Hollywood wasn't making them.
Yeah.
So along comes Robert Rodriguez and his basically gooey zombie movie. Really,
yeah.
this is
yeah.
If you're going to categorize this film, it's a zombie film. But they're
yes.
not.
I guess I didn't even think about that. Like, I'm like, oh yeah, this is a zombie movie.
Yeah, but again, they're not true zombies.
Yeah, right. But like, right, they're not going for brains or anything.
No,
like,
they're like biochemically enhanced.
Yeah.
You know, so but really it's a zombie film. You know, you have people that are just whatever. Main character of the movie, two main characters of the movie are Cherry Darling, the go-go dancer with a heart of gold, who wants to be a stand-up comedian, and her ex-boyfriend El Rey.
Yeah.
Which he's a mystery at the beginning, he's a mystery in the middle, and he's a mystery at the end. Like,
yep.
And so she's a dancer, and she bumps into him at the
at the Bone Shack.
At the Bone Shack, which is a restaurant owned by a couple of brothers. One of the brothers is a sheriff. So that's going on, and I mean, this movie's got several, I think probably 3 major plot lines.
Yeah.
That all kind of convene. So you've got the Cherry Darling and El Rey plot line. Meanwhile, you've got this military plot line.
Yes.
Where, again, the names don't really matter, but you've got the good military guys and the bad military guys.
Uh-huh.
And there is a chemical engineer that has created a lot of what they call DC2, which is just this biochemical whatever. Like it's green. Of course it's green, you know, and it's in a glass vial and whatever. And so they're fighting over Abby because Abby has this surplus of it.
Yes.
The gas gets released into the air, which then comes raining down, and because it does this thing, it chemically changes the people that it comes into contact with. And so that's story 2. We got the Cherry Darling and El Rey storyline. We've got the military biochemical storyline. And then as the chemical gases are coming down and turning these people into zombies with real bubbly skin, and it's pretty gross.
It is.
They then go seek medical treatment at the hospital with Dr. Block, which is our Josh Brolin character, and his wife, who's also a doctor. And that's the third storyline, is the doctor and his wife.
Yes.
She doesn't want to be with him anymore. She's got another person on the side that she wants to be with. This person's actually coming to like rescue her.
Yeah.
And Dr. Block is suspicious of it, and he's just not a nice guy.
No.
And so with these 3 storylines, which really, until you start talking about it, you don't even realize that there's like 3 separate storylines going on.
Right, because when you're watching, you're like, oh, okay, this happened, and then this happened. All right, sounds good.
So you got these 3 storylines, and they just slowly come together. Okay? Yeah. Because the zombies are the real catalyst of it, because these people are everywhere, so therefore they could be in everybody's storyline. So we get El Rey and Cherry are going from point A to point B. It doesn't matter, but they're like, El Rey is like a tow truck driver. They're going somewhere, and they get into an accident on the highway, and of course zombies show up, and they haul Cherry away. They drag her into the woods. As El Rey comes to and he goes to find her, like he does the whole like he puts on night vision goggles, because of course he has them.
Yeah.
As a tow truck driver, he's a mysterious man.
He is.
Like pulls back the tree, you know, like the branches, and they've like chewed her leg off.
Yeah.
So she's laying there with no leg, like they've eaten the leg. She just has this stump of a leg. El Rey does what El Rey does and takes out these zombies, and then takes her to the hospital. Okay. Where again, now we've had zombie storyline, El Rey storyline, and now they've crossed the paths at the hospital. I'm not doing a very good job of making
You're doing fine.
Well, no. What I just mean is like this, I'm making this movie sound a lot more confusing than it is, but it's really not. It's pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
The goal of every scene is to get characters together.
Yeah.
And so we get at the hospital, we get some more of the block doctors not getting along.
Yeah, my favorite, I think one of my favorite scenes of this movie is when someone had come in with like quote unquote gangrene.
Yeah.
And Dr. Block's like, let me look at it. And he's like, just, it's on the tongue.
Yeah. Oh, it's so gross.
Squeezes the tongue. And this tongue looks like brain. Like that's the texture it looks like.
Yeah, it's very, very gross.
And he squeezes it and it is like the gunkiest, biggest pimple you've ever popped. And
it's
it just
yellow.
Squirts on his glasses.
Yeah, it's like he just put them on, and it's like somebody took like a banquet chicken pot pie and just like squeezed the inside of it. It's just the movie knows how to just to be very gross.
Yes, disgusting.
Yeah,
just hitting him in the face. But he sees someone that he recognizes from his wife's past, which was her ex-lover, Tammy.
Yeah, because she was attacked on the road as well.
Yeah,
and we find out Tammy was the one coming to rescue Dakota. Yeah.
So he's of course like, you're not leaving me.
Right. Confronts Dakota about it. And was probably the most brutal scene in the movie because Dakota is the anesthetist at the hospital. So her job is to numb people, put them down, put them out, etc. And she's got these, which is just ridiculous, but it's this type of movie. She's got these 3 color-coded syringes, like in this like bandolier around her thigh.
Yeah,
because that's sterile. That's where
we keep them. Didn't you know that?
That's what happens here. So it's like she takes them out, and it's like, this is my first friend, which is like a local anesthetic, and number 2. So it's like her job is to make people not feel the pain, which when Dr. Block confronts Dakota about it, and it gets right up in her face, and like you just fear for her because you can tell he's a violent man.
Yeah.
And when he grabs her needles and like starts stabbing her in the palm of her hand, which of course then just like kills all the feeling in her extremities.
She's just limp.
Yeah. I thought she did a great job with the limp.
She did.
The limp acting.
She did.
So then he locks her in a supply closet, like because again he's a control freak.
Yeah.
El Rey leaves the hospital. He takes Cherry, leaves the hospital, and he's detained by the sheriff.
Good, because he's
they have a history.
Yeah, he's got probably like a warrant out or something.
Yeah, they've got a history, these two. And again, you could tell just based on how they talk to each other, the sheriff knows a lot more about El Rey's past than we do.
Yes.
And so and I don't know why it's so warm and cozy to me, but it's like even like they know that as the filmmaker, so they lean into it, and everything's talking in shadows, and it's just so like cloudy. You don't know what they're talking about, but you just know these two have a history. No, they didn't. Sorry, they haven't left the hospital. El Rey's still there.
He detained him there.
Yeah, the sheriff shows up. And of course, all these patients are turning into these zombies.
Yeah.
And this is where El Rey, I've all screwed up. They're at a police station. People are mutating. Then they go to the hospital. Because he dropped Cherry off. And now he's got to go save Cherry again. That's where we're at.
Correct. But he picked him up at the hospital. So
he
you're
did.
right there.
Yeah. So he picked him up at the hospital, took him back to the police station. Then they get the report that all these people are mutating and there's trouble at the hospital. So El Rey goes back to the hospital to get Cherry. She and they did a good job of leading us to
Yeah.
believe that she was dead, as she was just covered under a sheet. But when she whips it off because he's going to get her, like she's got a stump of a leg, like she's lost her leg from basically the knee, the knee down is gone.
Not for long, though.
No, because I love the creativity of movies like this.
Yeah,
he's just like
her third leg's better, but
yeah. So he's like, you got to be strong, and she's like, I can't do it. You got to be strong, and he he just takes a wooden table leg and it just like jams it onto her stump. I'm sure the pain that caused was excruciating. So now she's got this peg leg, and she's pirating herself around. She's trying to pivot and swivel and learn as she goes. She's trying to learn how to walk again. They fight their way out of the hospital. Dakota got out of the broom closet, the supply closet. She got to the car because she's got to get home to get her kid.
Yeah, but she's got no use of her hands in this part.
Yeah.
Oh, this hurt me. Yeah. Like, she goes to unlock her car door, and first of all, she is just like that, what you see on Halloween, like that sexy nurse, doctor, whatever.
Yeah,
like, she's got these like 6'6" stilettos on, and
I encourage you, if you enjoyed this movie, right? I encourage you to take a chance, just on a whim, not for the show, but just watch some of those other like 70s era, like Grindhouse type films. Because if you enjoyed the choices of this, and again, this is paying respect to those, I encourage you, just like give one a shot on your own. Just watch it, just to be like, this is ridiculous. Yeah. but everybody's in. Like it's not like, even if it's a like, even on these like women exploitative kind of films, you've seen some. I Spit on Your Grave would be this type of cinema.
Okay.
Last House on the Left would be this type of cinema.
Okay.
To where they're just gritty, kind of raw, non-Hollywood, but at the same time, there's an empowerment there. Like, I Spit on Your Grave was a terrible situation for her, but she won. Like, there was an empowering going on. And so there's a lot of that. So I know it's an aside. I give you that challenge. We'll get to the ratings, the grading phase later, but if you enjoyed it,
I know. What if I secretly hated this movie?
That's fine. If you do, then don't waste your time with anything else. Anyway, the car.
Yeah, so she's stuck her hand like up to her wrist down into the car handle, and then it's one of those, this is how my dad's old Jeep used to open up, and you had to push a button and pull. So then she's got the stiletto heel trying to push the button. Well, she slips, falls, hand is caught in the door, and it just breaks.
Yeah, just snaps it. Like, not even like at the wrist, just snaps it like mid.
Yes.
Like, and so every bone there, oh man.
And she's got nothing. But you know what? She drives away. Somehow she only hits 2 cars.
Right.
She's so smart. Starts the car with her mouth, like, put the keys in her mouth and start. 10 out of 10. She's such a smart lady.
She's an anesthetist. That takes some knowledge. You gotta be smart.
But meanwhile, Dr. Block is not smart, opening up bloody curtains to go look for her.
Yeah.
And there's another zombie with one of these like cutter saw things.
It's the guy with the tongue. It was that guy. It was the guy that we saw come in earlier. You're right. He's got this bone saw.
Yeah.
And so naturally, he's chasing him down with this bone saw. He's trying to retreat or whatever. And right when he's got him pressed, like, it was pretty good filmmaking.
Yeah.
Right when he's got him pressed up against the wall, with the, he's got this bone saw closing in on him.
He's already cut his glasses.
So close that he like cuts the bridge of his glasses. That's how close he was to cutting into this man's brain. And naturally, that's exactly how long the power cord was.
Yeah.
Couldn't go any further. Unplugs the thing.
Oh.
But then yeah, go ahead.
And then just like squeezes this huge cyst of blood and infection and just puts it on Dr. Block. Like, just here you go.
Wipes it across his face. Yeah. Ugh. Yeah. El Rey and Cherry get out of the hospital. They're off one direction. Dakota is headed home to get her son. And then, of course, the zombies are everywhere now. Mm-hmm. So Cherry and El Rey get to the Bone Shack. And again, the sheriff is part owner of the Bone Shack. And so that's kind of the meeting place for everybody. Dakota goes to get her son, who's being watched by her father, who's a Texas Ranger. And he's given her the third degree while zombies are closing in on her from behind. Yeah. And she's just like, Daddy, like, now's not the time. Gets Tony, her son, and gets him to the car. And they drive away. And then they get where they're going. And this part, it's hard to watch. They get where they're going. And she gives him a gun, which in this type of film is not uncommon.
Yeah. And not uncommon. Like, her thought process is like, I'm going to go inside. Yeah. And see if we can go inside, and I'm going to give my kid this to protect himself. Right. Well.
And she's like, shoot anything that comes to the car. And he's like, what about Daddy? And she goes, especially your father.
Especially your dad.
Yeah, so we get that vibe there. And it is hard to watch as the son, to be fair, Robert Rodriguez has gone on record. The son is played by Robert Rodriguez's son, Rebel. And the reason he cast his son in the movie was not for nepotistic reasons, but because he knew this part was in there. And he had said, I cannot bring myself to do a scene like this with someone else's kid.
That's good.
You know, like, not that he necessarily wanted to do it with his own.
Right,
but it's like, I'm not going to do this to someone else's child. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to cast my own kid. And when this scene happens, as Dakota's walking away from the car, because she even tells him, do not point it at yourself.
Yeah, like, you could shoot your face off.
Yeah, she gets 7 feet from the car and then, pow, shoots himself in the face. We don't see it. We don't see it, thankfully. No. But I think that almost makes it worse.
Yeah.
Like, because we get to then fill in the blanks in our own magic.
And it was like perfect timing because she turns around to go get him, and then husband's right there who is infected.
Yes.
And she pulls his body out of the car and heads up to her dad's house, like, let me in, let me in. And that's where the missing reel, the film cut short.
Well, we get, at the same time that's happening, okay, they're, like I said, Cherry and El Rey are at the Bone Shack, and they actually are boning at the shack.
Yes.
And so we get this kind of sexy-esque, like, love scene between these two, and as they're about to start revealing some flesh, that's when the film breaks.
Yeah.
And then when we cut back to, and I love it, because when we cut back to, the entire Bone Shack restaurant is up in flames.
Yeah.
Like, there's no explanation for what's just happened, because it was all in this missing reel. And so, and everybody's there again.
Yes.
You've got Dakota, Earl, Cherry's former boss, which we saw at the very beginning of the movie, hadn't seen again.
Yeah.
Tony was being babysat by these two girls, and there's just so much going on in this movie.
Yeah.
that it's not really necessary, but all these extra characters are just around, right? And so the sheriff and his brother end up getting hurt. Haig is the owner of the restaurant. Like, well, they're both there. So the sheriff's hurt. The group decides we're going to go to Mexico because we're in Texas. Mm-hmm. We're just going to flee for the border. Like, the sheriff and his brother are they're left behind. Like the Bone Shack's up in flames, but we've got this group of people led by El Rey.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, like JT, who is the barbecue shop owner, had naturally all of these like vehicles.
Yeah.
He's got all these vehicles. He does very, very well at his restaurant. Apparently.
Yes, he does.
So they have these vehicles so that they can go to Texas. They get stopped by zombies, like while trying to cross a bridge. As they're ready to fight themselves off, we get Muldoon, which is Bruce Willis's character from the very beginning of the movie. He and his men, the military, show up and kill all the zombies. And I love little things like this. Like the military is all behind the zombies. So you've got good guys, zombies, military. The military shoots all the zombies down and nobody standing over here gets hit. I love it. Like, I'm fine with it.
There's a pretend wall there.
Right. And so the military then apprehends all of the good guys. All right. They arrest the group. Abby, which is the biochemist, he kind of reveals that the soldiers are stealing the gas because they're infected.
Yeah.
And they want to stay infected because if they inhale that gas, it slows down their mutation. Mm-hmm. And they also find out that some of the people are immune. And if you're immune, then there's a possibility of a cure. So Cherry and Dakota are two main females. They're taken away by a couple of soldiers. Everybody else, they defeat the guards. I guess JT is still around. He gets shot. Like, I've lost track of where everybody's at.
Right, yeah. Like, we're all really at this military headquarters right now. That's all that matters.
And so we get we get Muldoon saying that he killed Osama bin Laden. Like, it's just goofy stuff. Like,
it is. Like, I went around the corner and I shot him. Like, yeah, I killed Osama bin Laden.
Yeah, I got him.
And Abby's like, you killed Osama bin Laden? He goes, yeah. It's like, okay.
Whatever. Cherry, of course, she still has the peg leg. And so one of the soldiers is like forcing her to dance at gunpoint. And if she does it, he's going to rape her.
Yeah. What's
nasty is like the soldier that's doing all this is Quentin Tarantino, the director of the other half of this movie. So she eventually like takes it upon herself. She starts to grow a pair a little bit. She breaks her wooden leg across his face and then stabs him in the face with it. Mm-hmm. Dakota, finally, the anesthesia's starting to wear off.
That's some good anesthesia.
Very good anesthesia. And so her hands have regained some feeling. She still has her syringes. Matter of fact, now she has like a gun.
A launcher.
Yeah. So she shoots syringes to stop one of the other soldiers. El Rey and Abby show up to save the girls. And again, Cherry doesn't have a leg again.
Yeah, this is my favorite leg that she gets.
I love it. El Rey just takes an assault rifle with a grenade launcher. Yeah. Just this. Thankfully, it's the exact size she needs to be to not walk crooked. And it just jams that up against her like magnets. I guess I don't know.
Yeah.
But not only that, but it's like she's got this like metal end to her leg. He just like shoves this like assault rifle into that spot, but now she has control over the assault rifle.
Yeah.
Without pulling a trigger.
Right. She just lifts it and it shoots.
Yeah, that's all you have to. And it's like, I said it several times. I love that method of filmmaking where it's like, who cares? If what we're doing is cool, it doesn't have to make sense.
Like, this is so cheesy, but we're going to go with it anyway.
Yeah, it's like do not think about the validity of any of this, because there are more holes in this than there are in a fishing net. Like,
oh yeah,
but whatever. It's who cares? Because this woman's got an assault rifle for a leg. So JT's been shot. He's going to detonate to destroy the remaining zombies, so everybody else can get away. They got this plan. There's helicopters. on the other side of these like these walls, right? If we get to the helicopters, we can escape. So Abby's like, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna check things out. Like he ducks his head around the corner, boom, head gets blown off.
Yeah.
El Rey gets wounded because he's trying to save Cherry, which whatever, it's gonna happen. She then like somehow gets catapulted over these walls. She now has gotten rid of the assault rifle. She has this minigun for a leg. She mows down all of these zombies. Thankfully, doesn't do any damage to any of the helicopters.
Thank goodness.
Everybody loads onto the helicopters and they fly to the Caribbean and they start a new society because the world is going through the zombie outbreak. And Cherry, now with long flowing hair, still missing a leg. The one night that she and El Rey were together, she got pregnant. So she's since given birth. I love this movie. And that's it. Like they're on an island. The zombies are not there. And they've started their own society. So, and that's Planet Terror. It does make a lot more sense than what I just provided. But to each their own. Let's grade this thing.
Yeah, I'm giving it an A. I liked the gore of it, and like you said, like the creativity. Like I really liked.
Yeah,
I really like this movie.
You can tell that this was a love letter to a type of film that was enjoyed. Like this was not a tongue-in-cheek attempt to make one of these. Like this was, we've got a big budget, let's have some fun.
Yeah.
But stay true to what that is. So I'm going to give this one an A as well. I really enjoy this movie. I will say I like its counterpart, Death Proof. I like that one better. Okay. It's just that other one, it's different kinds of horror. Like neither one of them are scary movies. But the other one feels a little bit more like a scary horror film than this is. The other one's slightly more realistic too. Okay. This one's so far fetched. Like there's, you know what I mean? Like this is not going to happen. The other one, you could see some basis in reality there. So I'm going to give it an A as well. What character did you associate with from this movie?
Oh goodness. I was thinking of that as I was watching it. And I'm like, part of me would like to say that I'm like Cherry, just because like I would know, I don't know, I just keep fighting.
Yeah.
But then the other part of me is like, if there were a zombie apocalypse, like I'm not doing the cat and mouse game. Like, just go ahead and take me.
Yeah. Just
so it's kind of hard.
I get it. I'm going to say for me, probably JT. At the point that I'm at, I turned 45 years old next week. I'm at a point in my life where I'm like, I'm going to take care of my circle and anything tangent to that circle. Like, that's where I'm at. My days of trying to save the world, like I think JT is like, I just want to make good barbecue. But if you come into my restaurant, I will take care of you. Like I will do what I have to do to protect you. But at the end of the day, I just want to make barbecue. Like I just want to do what I love and be left alone. But he's got stuff up his sleeve to survive if he has to. So that's why I would label myself a JT. I'm glad you like this.
Yeah, I did.
I wasn't really worried about it because I knew there was enough gore once I watched it, I was like, oh, I forgot how gory this is. I knew that would be okay. But I do know it's a different flavor than like Oddity or some of the other stuff that we watched. Yeah. So I was curious where you were, but no, I'm glad you liked it. Christmas is coming up. And I would say we might get, I would like to get one more episode recorded before Christmas. But we'll see, just because busyness of schedules and things like that. But it is my pick for next week. And I feel that we should probably go with some sort of Christmas movie. And so I think we should watch Terrifier 3 for next week.
Yes.
Did you see that coming?
No, I did not.
Yeah.
But I'm so happy.
Yeah. So we're gonna watch Terrifier 3. I know Art the Clown celebrates the holidays in this one. And so I know nothing about it outside of that they've made it and that it's going to be gory. So
yeah.
And so for next week we're going to celebrate Christmas by talking about Terrifier 3. Social media wise, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok, dropping them shorts with each episode so that like I've said before, you can microdose if you want. But other than that, we are. Where are we at? 100? Is this 101 now?
I think so.
I think it's 101. Starting that second 100. If you haven't subscribed already, please do. Like and all that fun stuff. Yeah, episode 101 is what this one's going to be. And so, yeah, we hope you stick with us for another 100 episodes as we are enjoying what we're doing. We've had some pretty good stuff. Again, the shorts on YouTube are blowing up. Like Ginger Snaps. Let's see here. 498 views on one of them. So that's fun. So, but yeah, we will be back next week to talk about Terrifier 3. Courtney, you got anything to share with the fine listeners before we leave?
Nope. Enjoy the holidays and yeah.
Yeah. Stay warm. Or stay cool, depending on where you are. Who knows? But
yeah.
But no, we will be back next week to talk about Terrifier 3 for another episode of Digication. I'm Mike.
And I'm Courtney.
We'll see you guys then.
Bye.